What's good, everybody? This is Dario Hunt from Living Life Fearless, and I'm back with another reaction, this time to A Star is Born. So let's talk about it. As I said on my previous video, I am going back and watching all of the movies that have been nominated for this year's upcoming Oscars ceremony for the Best Picture that I have not watched yet. And next on that list was A Star is Born. So let's get into it. This has easily been one of the most hyped movies coming at the end of 2018. Now, did it live up to that hype? I would say not quite, but it was a lot better than I expected it to be. One thing, everybody was correct. Lady Gaga does a fantastic job here, and she really showed off her acting chops. I really wasn't too surprised that she was a great actor because, I mean, if you just watch any of her performances, you can see that she kind of has that theatrical side to her, but she was even better than I expected her to be. And Bradley Cooper is a proven commodity already, so I got kind of what I was already expecting from him. But on the directing side, he did a fantastic job here, and I think it was very well paced. And I thought he covered a lot of strong beats, and he created a strong emotional feeling to the movie. So the two areas that most people were talking about, Bradley Cooper's directing and Lady Gaga's acting, did live up to the hype. But the story, not so much. I was actually unaware that this is a movie that has been remade multiple times until I had to go back and do a bit of research. So I can't really say how the story is compared to those other ones that came before it. But this one felt a bit lacking to me. And in particular, towards the end of it and how they kind of finished things off. Because I think it started out really strongly. I really felt like there was this energy between Bradley Cooper and Gaga that really brought the film to life in the opening parts of the movie. And even though it moved a bit quickly through their relationship, I do feel like they established a strong enough connection between the two to make it believable, and that you can kind of see how they would both kind of come together and fit together. But when she kind of starts to take off on her own, that's when things get a bit rushed, in my opinion. Like, she goes through so many things so quickly that the relationship isn't really necessarily the focal point anymore, and Cooper kind of fades off to the side a bit, even though we do get a fantastic moment with Dave Chappelle and Eddie Griffin, which I really was not expecting, but it was dope to see them in it. But when they come to the climax and to the finish of the movie, it didn't really feel earned to me. Like, I'm not going to full on spoil things, but when things take the predictable turn for the worst, it's just one big moment after another big moment after another big moment, and then kind of done. And I felt like it really could have done more fleshing out and more building up into those darker, more tragic parts of their relationship, and in particular Cooper's life. And they don't really go into too much detail about him and the trauma that kind of put him in the position that he is from his past. They kind of touch on it here and there, and there is a touching moment between him and his older brother, who is played by, I forget his name, but he is a very good actor in his own right. But between him and Gaga, it starts to feel like it was just all manufactured for the movie instead of feeling more natural like it did towards the beginning, because I really didn't understand why I didn't really get the feeling that she was as deeply in love as they kind of portrayed her to be, especially at the end of the movie. And it felt like they could have easily just split off from each other, and I wouldn't have really cared too much. But when they get to that ending scene, the most supposedly the most traumatic part of the movie, I just didn't really feel it. I knew it was coming. I could see it a mile away, and it just didn't really have that kind of impact that a moment like that should have had in that type of movie. And then you get a big musical number at the end, and it's over. And it was felt a bit unfinished, a bit rushed, and a bit unfulfilling. Instead of and what was an overall generally enjoyable movie for at least the first half of it, it just kind of, I think, lost its way a bit towards the end. But on the music side of things, which is a big part of a movie like this, it was absolutely fantastic. Shallow is the song that I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now. but the way they came up with it, the way it came about into the movie, and just the singing of it in general, and the singing of all the songs in general was fucking fantastic. I knew Gaga was going to be great, but I did not expect Cooper to sound as good as he does and just feel as natural as he did, as that type of, musician and presence he had. And he really knocked it out of the park in that regard. And all the songs were fantastic in general. And it's not necessarily a genre that is my favorite, but I really like the songs here. And I really felt like they added so much to the actual story, to the movie, especially on the emotion and feeling side of things. And the ending song was probably a bigger impact and impactful moment than the scene before, which was supposed to be the big kind of climax. So I don't know. Outside of the music, there were some great parts here and there, especially at the beginning half of the movie, but things definitely kind of struggled to get to the finish line. But the music was always a strong component of this, and it really carried the movie throughout. So in my humble opinion, it should definitely win best original song, because it's obviously one that has been sticking with people, and it stuck with me myself. In terms of best picture, I'm not entirely sold on it as best picture, but I could definitely see why, considering all the elements that came together with Bradley Cooper directing and Lady Gaga's first major role in a movie and everything coming together. And I could even see Lady Gaga winning for this role in particular. Cooper not getting a director's nomination is a bit of a travesty. Like, how can you be a best picture nominee and not nominate the director himself? But there's a whole lot of talks that can be said about that one. But in terms of best picture, I'm not entirely sure if that should be in the category, but I can definitely see why it is there. But for those of you that have seen A Star Is Born, which I'm pretty sure is probably most of you, what do you guys think about it? Do you think it deserves a best picture nomination? Do you think Lady Gaga deserves a win? What do you think about Cooper getting snubbed as a director on this? What were your favorite parts of it? Was it the music? Was it the story? Was it the characters? Do you think things dragged a bit towards the end like I did? Let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to head to the official site where you can leave your own ratings and reactions to this movie, other movies, and everything else I react to over there on the site. If you have anything that you personally want me to react to, you can also let me know in the comments down below. And if you like anything that I rock in these videos like this or this, you can also head over to the site and grab some for yourself. As always, man, thank you guys for joining me. If you're liking these videos, please smash that like and subscribe button for me. I will be back shortly with more reactions. But until then, I will catch you guys soon. Peace.